Hello, Assalamualaikum. So we are from Group 1. We will be presenting for our topic, which is good thinking from Islamic perspective. So these are our contents. The first one, we will be describing about the general introduction to good thinking, and then good thinking from Islamic perspective, and then the challenges in good thinking in Islam, and some tips on how to perceive good thinking. And the last one is summary. Good thinking can be defined to be cautious about inferring causation from correlations and to identify alternative plausible reasons for correlations. Good thinking is a matter of cognitive ability. It is a skill that good thinkers adopt. It is when one has to register the situation in the first place as a possibly causal inference and care enough to think it through. These are part of dispositional aspects of thinking. Good thinkers have the right thinking dispositions, which becomes a particular pattern of intellectual behavior. Specifically, a disposition in our sense is a psychological element with three components that shows how initially good thinking works: ability, inclinations, and sensitivity. The three components contribute as follows. Inclination refers to the person's felt tendency toward behavior. For example, a person with an inclination to open-minded thinking will feel a leaning toward open-minded thinking when he or she recognizes the need. And then for sensitivity, in contrast, refers to the person's alertness to X occasions. For example, a person sensitive to the need for open-minded thinking will notice occasions where narrow thinking and prejudice and bias are likely and open-mindedness called for. Finally, ability refers to the actual ability to follow through with X behavior. A person with the ability to be open-minded knows how to go about it, resisting the impulse to decide quickly, listening to evidence for rival points of view, and so on.
Next, we will look at the good thinking from Islamic perspective. As for definition of good thinking from Islamic perspective, good thinking is the practice of focusing on the good in any given situation. It can have a significant impact on your physical and mental health. And good thinking is also when we concentrate on the excellent consequences. Instead of focusing on the difficulties of the problem, we attempt to find a solution to solve the issues. Next, we will look at the functions of good thinking from Islamic perspective. For the first function is to seek the pleasure of Allah. As mentioned in the hadith, Innama a'malu binniyat. All actions are judged based on intention. Everything we do starts with intention. Good thinking will surely lead us to have a good purpose in doing something we want. For example, we should have a thought to help poor people to ease their burden. The next function is to adhere to the objective of Sharia, as it will lead humans, especially Muslims, to balance between promoting human welfare and preventing corruption. Hence, by having good thinking as a Muslim, we shall have the adherence to distinguish whether the actions are considered morally right or wrong based on Islam morality code of conduct. The last function is to develop and strengthen the concept of reliance tawakal upon Allah. If we have good thinking from every perspective of our life, even when facing some challenges, we will have a firm reliance only on Allah. As Allah mentioned in the Quran, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. Once you make a decision, put your trust in Allah. Surely Allah loves those who trust in Him. Through this verse, Allah exhorts us to trust in Him in every situation that we may face. Thus, it is important to have a good thinking. In this Hadith Al-Qudsi, Allah Himself informed us the importance of good thinking about Him. Therefore, we must maintain good thoughts about our Creator and not allow the devil to place bad thoughts in our mind.
There are three challenges of good thinking, which are takabur, nifaq, and lust and desire. First is takabur, which means vanity, self-conceit. It means looking at oneself and thinking how great they are. Instead of praising Allah the Almighty by saying Alhamdulillah, they tend to praise themselves. Takabbur will make people overconfident while contemptuous toward others, as they view themselves as superiors. Furthermore, arrogance is also a thick veil that hides one's shortcomings from his view and thus prevent him from removing them and attaining perfection. And thus, this will prevent that person from receiving advice or suggestions, even if it will lead to success, as he is proud and arrogant to admit his mistake or incompetence. Takabbur had been mentioned in Surah An-Nahl, verse 23, which means, without a doubt, Allah knows what they conceal and what they reveal. He certainly does not like those who are too proud. In this verse, we can see that being proud is not prohibited, but being too proud is frowned upon, as takabbur is dangerous for ourselves. So to prevent it is by reflecting on ourselves, thus realizing one's own lowly position. Our own excellence will recede into nothingness. Also humble ourselves in the presence of those whom we regard as inferior. Be respectful to them so that we become imbued with humility. Second is nifaq. Nifaq can be regarded as hypocrisy, which can be verbally or behavioral. Behavioral nifaq is when the outward appearance of a person is giving the impression of being sympathetic, supportive, and sincere, while in reality, it is the opposite inside his heart. While verbal nifaq is the state of when a person praises or flatters another person or people in front, but denounces him or them and speaks slanderously in their absence. When a person has nifaq in his heart, he will never hesitate to cause people inconvenience or create problems for them, thus harming others. Then it will lead to a bad result. So the decision made by a munafiq is dubious, as it may give more harm than good. Nifaq had been mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, verse 145, which means, surely the hypocrites will be in the lowest depth of the fire, and you will never find for them any helper. In that verses, you can see hypocrisy is regarded as a great crime. Hypocrisy is more dangerous than disbelief, and the punishment for it is more severe, because it is the disbelief mixed with Islam and its harmful effects are greater. The third challenge for good thinking is lust and desire. Lust and desire make humans have feelings and emotion. But if humans only follow their lust and passion, it is no different with animals. Lust and desire will push us to strive to achieve our ambitions and work harder in our jobs. Due to this, lust needs to be controlled, as not every desire must be fulfilled. The failure to use akal in controlling lust and desire will make humans the worst creature. In Surah Al-A'raf, verse 179, which means, indeed, we have destined many jinns and humans for hell. They have hearts they do not understand with, eyes they do not see with, and ears they do not hear with. They are like cattle. In fact, they are even less guided. Such people are entirely heedless. In this verse, we can see that humans that just follow their lust and desire will entering hell. So, in this case, we must control our lust and desire. If we just follow our own lust and desire, we will unable to make a wise decision. Thus, it will lead to negative effect. It had become a challenge for good thinking.
Having a good thinking skill could be advantage for us. We as a teacher, it is important for us to guide our students to be a good thinker. How to perceive good thinking? The first thing that we could do is provide the learners with frequent opportunities. Thus, it is a good encouragement because it will help the student to develop the skills that they will need through explorers. Secondly, sensitize learners with exposure to unfamiliar or new situations and experiences. It is important for them to challenge themselves to try to face the situation and learn, so they can have the idea to handle when they meet the same situation and problems. The last one, teach strategies for articulating goals. Everyone has goals, but not everyone knows the right way to achieve their goals. By facilitating the student with strategies, it will help them to understand the process of learning. It will promote flexible thinking for the learners, so they can use these strategies to different approaches to various of tasks. In conclusions, not everyone has good thinking skills. This will cause them to develop lack of confidence and fear to face problems. They will tend to run away instead of solve the problem. As a result, they will not be able to learn something because one of the best learning is from our experience, which may consist our happy moment, difficulties, and failures.